Have you ever wondered what it was like to grow old in the past? Well, in Victorian London, reaching the age of 40 wasn't a midlife milestone. It was a rarity, a quiet victory against incredible odds. The unsettling truth is that for millions, life was simply never expected to last much longer than that. From the moment you were born into the smog-filled city, survival became a daily battle. Imagine negotiating with forces far beyond your control, polluted air that stung your lungs, water contaminated with unseen dangers, and exhausting labor that started in childhood. Infancy itself was a gamble. So many families buried children before they ever learned to walk. But surviving childhood didn't mean you were safe. It just meant you entered a longer, slower struggle against the city itself. London's rapid industrial growth was its engine, but it came at a human cost. People were packed into dense, sprawling neighborhoods. Entire families, parents, children, sometimes even grandparents, lived together in a single dark room. They breathed in coal smoke day and night while raw sewage flowed in open channels just beneath their feet. In these conditions, the human body aged at a terrifying speed. Organs and immune systems were worn down long before what we'd consider middle age. Reaching 40 wasn't a dream denied by fate. It was an age few bodies were even built to reach. The daily work in Victorian London was one of the biggest reasons lives were so short. For most, survival depended on labor that slowly, methodically, destroyed the body. Men toiled in factories, on the docks, and at construction sites where safety was a foreign concept. Injuries were just part of the job, and a simple cut could be a death sentence due to infection. Women labored just as relentlessly. They worked in the deafening noise of textile mills, the steamy heat of commercial laundries, and as domestic servants, enduring grueling hours that weakened their muscles, lungs, and bones. And children? They didn't have a childhood as we know it. They entered the workforce young, their small bodies already set on a path of exhaustion before adulthood even began. There were no weekends to look forward to, no guaranteed rest, and certainly no medical leave. If you missed a day of work, you lost your wages, and losing wages meant your family went hungry. On top of this, nutrition was abysmal. The daily diet for most families consisted of cheap, dense bread, milk that was often watered down, and meat of questionable origin. Stomachs might have been full, but bodies were chronically undernourished. This combination of constant physical strain and poor food accelerated the aging process, making a person in their 30s often look decades older by our modern standards. But perhaps the most relentless enemy of all was disease. Victorian London was a city practically designed for illness to thrive. In many districts, clean water was a luxury. Often the water people drank and cooked with was drawn from the same sources contaminated by human waste. This led to devastating recurring waves of cholera and typhoid. Tuberculosis, known as consumption, was a constant, shadowy presence, and smallpox outbreaks would sweep through neighborhoods time and time again. Medical knowledge was growing, but access to it was not. Treatments were often limited, expensive, or completely ineffective. Think about it. This was a world without antibiotics. A minor infection, something we'd treat with a simple pill today, could become fatal within days. Hospitals were overcrowded and feared. Many people saw them not as places of healing, but as places you went to die among strangers. Because of the poor sanitation, disease never truly disappeared. It just waited, weakening bodies year after year until all resilience gave way. Surviving one illness didn't restore your strength. It often left lasting damage that made you even more vulnerable to the next one. Where you lived added another layer of quiet destruction. Rest. The one thing that might have allowed bodies to recover was almost impossible to find. Overcrowded rooms meant minimal fresh air, and the constant dampness encouraged respiratory diseases. The coal fires people relied on for warmth filled their homes with smoke, slowly damaging their lungs over time. Rats and insects spread even more illness, while structurally unsound buildings made fires and collapses a constant threat. Even sleep offered little escape. It was often interrupted by noise from the street, the biting cold, or the gnawing anxiety that came with such a precarious existence. The constant fear of being evicted, getting sick, or losing your job kept people in a state of high alert. Modern medicine now understands that this kind of chronic stress is deeply harmful over long periods. It quietly wore down not just the mind, but the body itself. The harsh reality was that aging itself was dangerous. The city had no social safety nets to catch you if you fell. There were no pensions for most workers, no healthcare guarantees, and very little protection for those who could no longer keep up with the relentless pace of labor. As people approached 40, the accumulated damage from years of work and illness began to show. Their productivity slowed down at the exact moment their survival depended on it. A worker who slowed down was simply replaced by someone younger and stronger, leaving them vulnerable to poverty and starvation. The social structure was brutal. A man who could no longer lift heavy loads was easily dismissed. A woman who lost her speed in the factory found herself without work and with few other options. Charity existed, but it was inconsistent and often humiliating, requiring public displays of desperation to get any help. The final dreaded option was the workhouse, feared for its harsh conditions and the utter loss of dignity it represented. For many, that fate felt worse than death. As people moved beyond their youth, the damage inflicted by the city became impossible to ignore. The body kept a precise, painful record of every hardship. Lungs weakened by years of coal smoke struggled for air, making simple tasks exhausting. Joints damaged by repetitive labor ached and stiffened, turning movement into a source of pain. Teeth, ravaged by poor diet and no dental care, rotted away, leading to silent spreading infections. When we look back, the reason so few people lived past 40 in Victorian London isn't a biological mystery. It's a direct consequence of their environment. The city demanded more than the human body could sustainably give, and it offered very little in return. What we now consider basic necessities, clean water, rest, proper medical care, a balanced diet, were unimaginable luxuries for the vast majority. They lived hard, worked relentlessly, and aged rapidly in a city that rewarded endurance but punished any sign of vulnerability. Victorian London didn't fail its people with a single spectacular disaster. It wore them down quietly, day by day, year by year, until survival itself became unsustainable. Understanding this history gives us a profound appreciation for the conditions that allow us to live long lives today. It's a powerful reminder that life expectancy isn't just about time. It's about creating a world where the human body is allowed to endure. Thanks for watching. If you found this glimpse into the past interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time.